Hey guys, Jeremy here from Kitchen Dad. Today I'm going to review Char Griller's Akorn. It's a Kamado style smoker that's small and petite but does everything that you need it to do. I've had mine for a couple months now, so you can see it's well seasoned and it's broken in. But it's a great option if you don't have a lot of space, or if you just don't feel like forking out $1,000 for a bigger smoker. It has plenty of grilling space to cook for, maybe up to 8 to 10 people. If you're going to do something larger than that, then it's probably not the best option. But for it's around $160 on Amazon, and I'll include the links in the description below so you can find it. It really provides a ton of value, and I've even started using it over a typical Weber charcoal grill, just because I feel like it's so much easier to control the temperature on this thing. It comes with a cast iron grate and a little hook to pull the grate out, but I'd also recommend grabbing a cover for it if you're going to be storing it outside. And if you're going to be smoking on it, there's a smoking stone that creates a barrier between the charcoal and your food, so it's more of an indirect cook versus direct heat. It took me a couple tries, but once you figure out the vent on the bottom and the top, it's pretty easy to control the temperature. A lot of people, like to smoke with the natural wood chunks, but to be honest, I use charcoal in this thing with just wood chips. I add the wood chips right before I add the meat. I just find that the regular charcoal briquettes are much easier to control the temperature. And then when you want to grill and get a higher temperature, you have them for that as well. The only thing I really don't like about this is it's really short, so if you don't have a sturdy table to put it on, you're constantly bending over to work with it, which isn't a huge deal, but if you have back problems or knee problems or something like that, it might be something to think about. It's really easy to start the fire on this thing. I normally use the Kamado Joe fire starters, but today I've ran out and I just moved into a new house, so I'm going to cheat and use some lighter fluid. But still, it lights pretty quickly. Sometimes I'll shut the lid within 5 or 10 minutes of lighting it and just let it warm up nice and slow, just to kind of ease into that temperature that you want, because with these type of smokers, when the temperature gets over what you want, it's hard to bring it back down, just because they're made of ceramics, so they hold that heat. Alright, so I'm going to cook a brisket today, and as you can see, I've already got a pyramid of charcoal in there. So I'm going to light that up and let it start preheating. At the same time, I'm going to prep out my brisket. Alright, when your charcoal is ready to light, make sure that the bottom vent is all the way open, and if you're using lighter fluid, be sure to let that initial flame die off until they start to turn gray, so we don't have any of the lighter fluid taste when we start cooking the food. As soon as that flame dies out, you can shut the lid, and I'll usually leave the vents open until it reaches about 150 degrees, and then you want to start shutting them maybe about halfway. And as you get about 25 to 50 degrees away from your desired temperature, which if you're smoking is going to be like 200 to 250, somewhere in that range, you want to go ahead and close it down to like level 2 on the top and the bottom, because once you load your meat, it's going to drop about 50 degrees, and then after you let it settle for about 15 or 20 minutes, you can start to open those valves back up until you get the temperature that you want. Once you're 5 to 10 degrees away, I'd suggest closing both the top and the bottom down to like 1 or 1.5. Let it go for like 20 or 30 minutes and see if it's going to sit there or rise or fall. And then from there, you can adjust the settings. If you're having trouble keeping it steady, maybe keep the top slightly more open than the bottom and use the bottom to control most of the airflow. Alright, it looks like the initial lighter fluid is burned off, so I'm going to go ahead and throw my grate on and close the lid and let this Akorn start heating up. Okay, so one thing that you can do with the Akorn Char Griller, if it starts to get a little too hot, like it actually just did on me for this cook, open the lid back up as soon as it, if it hits your temperature before you're even ready to throw your food on, then definitely open the lid back up, close the bottom vent, and it was still kind of retaining that heat. So I actually just poured a little bit of water on the charcoal to cool it off a little bit, and just kept that lid open. Um, Now that I've put the smoking stone in and the meat, it seems to be like right where I want it. So now I'm just going to monitor it closely, and as you can see, I have the vents just barely cracked, so there's not a ton of airflow in there. Once it gets to the temperature, it really just depends on the type of charcoal you're using, the weather, um, if it's windy or not. Um, but I've had some days where I can park it on the number one setting on the top and the bottom, and it sits there. And other days I'm constantly having to adjust it. Um, so with these type of manual smokers, it's just part of the game. So sometimes if you're in there checking the temperature or moving stuff around, you'll notice the temperature drops. It should climb back up after a few minutes, just like because the ceramic holds that heat. But if you want, feel free to open up one of the vents to let it warm back up again, and then close them back off when they get closer to your temperature. Alright, my brisket's been in the smoker for a couple hours now, so I'm just going to check it to see what it looks like, what the temperature's at. But my temperature's pretty much been parked at 250. I haven't had to mess with the vents at the top or the bottom too much. That's another reason why I like this smoker and using charcoal briquettes, because just a little bit will last like the whole day. There's been several times where I extinguished the coals by closing the vents off, and I've reused those for different purposes. So the charcoal really lasts for a while. So I'm just gonna open in here, pop in here, and take a peek. We've got a real nice color. It's looking especially caramelized at the bottom. So I'm just going to put a thermometer in there, see what it's looking like. Okay guys, yet again another wardrobe change. It's been a while now. I'm going to be taking the brisket off soon, but it's getting dark out here, so I just wanted to say a couple more things for cleanup. When you're done with the grill, you might still have charcoals that are hot. Go ahead and close both vents completely and just give it an hour or so. That'll die off and the temperature will start to drop. They also don't recommend leaving the charcoal in the grill, although I'm guilty of that. The reason being is they can contain moisture, which isn't going to be good for the smoker long term. The other thing that I do every time, well, almost every time, depending on how it looks, it is a cast iron grate, so you need to season it with some vegetable oil. And if it's looking dry after you're done using it, let the temperature cool down to like under 150 degrees, and I usually just take a brush and brush some vegetable oil in there, and that will just keep it nice and seasoned and ready to go for your next cook. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, enjoy your finished product. Keeping it simple today on a slider bun with a little bit of horseradish sauce and thinly sliced red onion. As I mentioned, all the products that we use, I'll link to those in the description, but if you like the video, feel free to subscribe. We have big plans coming for you in 2020. Cheers.